Initiating system 1. System 1 loaded.
Let me see, yes, okay. Oh, assalamu alaikum, my friends. Yes, I'm sorry if I've disappointed you that Brother Khaleel is not here today. He left me a note saying, Professor IQRA, could you please introduce today's show? And I, of course, more than graciously, I'm more than happy to do so. I hope you are okay and that you'll be able to do it. How difficult could it be after all? I mean, he wants me to say a number of things to remind you. Right, first of all, he wants me to remind you of the QR code, which is around here somewhere. Right, the QR code is an easy and effective, very efficient way for you to get directly to our Instagram page. It's right. See, I'm already dropping things. Forgive me. I hope Brother Khaleel is not watching. Right, yes, go to the QR code, hit it right now with your phone, and you'll be able to go directly over there. Apparently, modern science is wonderful, isn't it? Also, Brother Khaleel wants to ask that, can I remind you that we want to have you on the show. If you'd like to be on something called the Random Art Show, sounds quite odd. Right, if you want to be on that show, you can inbox us on our Instagram page. Apparently, yes. He also wants to make sure that you guys are enjoying the new shows. Yes, of course, the best one of those new shows is Kun Fire Kun with me and Kid Bilal. Right, also, he wants me to ask you a question. Let me see, where is that question now? He's not very organized with his script, is he? Right. He wants me to ask you, what is the first surah of the Quran? Of course, I can tell you the answer is, I'm not supposed to tell you until halfway through the show. Well, I know for a fact that I'm not as good looking as Khaleel, nor am I as talented, but I know a thing or two, and you'll see in our shows coming up how wonderfully talented we all are here at IQRA Kids TV. But for now, I hope you enjoy part one of our shows. Let's go for it.
Initiating system 1. System 1 loaded.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome once again to the Random Art Studio. We are going to continue our themes of drawing creatures, creepy crawlies and animals that appear in the Holy Quran. Today we have something that goes zzz. Do you know what that is? People are scared of it. People see one of those things and they run a mile, even though they're tiny and they can't hurt you. Well, they can hurt if they sting you. It is a bee. There you go. A lovely honey bee that we've got a lovely picture of a honey bee. I've got the same thing on my phone here as well. It looks so cute, and it's carrying a little pot as well. It's going, I'm going to give you some honey bee. All right, so that's what we're going to draw today. Using our two techniques. One, the grid system, and of course, looking at basic shapes and then increasing the details on those basic shapes. We're not going to run straight ahead and start drawing all the details yet. We're going to figure out where everything goes in proportion using the grid system. Then we'll go into a bit more detail. Right, let's get down to business. Right, as you can see, this one is almost a perfect square. So I'm going to start drawing that on my pad right now. Okie dokie. Oh. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Hope you guys can see that. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay, let's now divide it into 4 equal parts. Again, as you can clearly see, I'm not using a ruler. I'm just using my free hand to draw that shape in. Right, as usual, talking about basic shapes, we're going to look at the head, the body, the arms, the pot, the wings, see where they fall on our grid system. Now you can see that the face of the bee is slightly to the left of that center line. So what we're going to do, we're going to draw a circle roughly where that goes. Something like that. It doesn't go to the very top of the page. So it's about here somewhere. And then the body kind of goes into that quarter, and then go, the bulk of it is in the bottom right-hand side. Maybe a little further up, maybe too far down. And then his leg is gonna go ping, 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 bong, there. His arm is gonna kind of go from that side here over to here. And then you can see his pot is gonna be here somewhere. I'm not sure we're gonna worry too much about the pot, but we'll just put it in for now. And the handle is kind of something like that. Then his wings are gonna, one wing is gonna be above that line there. And the other wing is gonna be kind of just underneath that line there, kind of longish. Then the next one is gonna go up and down just below that line there as well, okay? Remember using a grid line to figure out where things go in proportion and in proportion to the image that we've got with our grid line. Now, if you want to add more lines to your picture and add more lines on your paper to increase your accuracy, by all means, you should do so right away. But for now, we're taking it nice and easy. Just divide it into 4. Right, we've roughly got everything roughly where it's supposed to be, sort of. So let's continue and put in a bit more detail, looking at it a lot more closely and trying to figure out where the chin goes, where the nose goes. The nose is about there somewhere. He's got some lovely round, nice, lovely cheeks bulging out the side of his head because he's got a lovely smile. Oh, he's got one of those cartoon smiles that we all love. And you can see his little tongue there. And he's got teeth, believe it or not. Of course, these are always anthropomorphized. You big word there, Khaleel. Yeah, anthropomorphized, meaning that they've been given human characteristics, okay? So teeth is one of those characteristics that makes it look a bit more human, a bit more friendly, and much more relatable as a fun character. Right, so I've put his head in, looking at the picture as I go, trying to get this curvature correct and trying to get all the bits in the right places. Right, I'm gonna put his widow's peak in, which is that black thing that goes over his head, and then over that side like that. There, oh yes. And inside there, I'm gonna put the eyes in. The eyes are just almost complete circles, almost. One of the eyes does go into that other quarter there. So I'm gonna do that, and that's a bit too high. Should be a bit more rounder. And then he's got the inner circles on the inside as well. Right, so as I'm talking, I'm just looking at the picture, looking at the drawing, trying to get them to look close enough. It has to look close enough. It doesn't have to be exactly 1,125,000% accurate, but close enough so it resembles what you're drawing. At the end of the day, this is about improving your hand-to-eye coordination, your skills of how to get a picture to look like what it's supposed to look like. I've said many times that, you know, you could have a bee, you could have a fly, you could have, I don't know, a grasshopper or something, that all have similar features, but they all have their own distinct looks. Why is that? Because they all have their own set of proportions that create the illusion of why they look different from one to the other. You know what I mean, right? So that's what we're gonna do here. So it doesn't have to be 100% accurate to what you're drawing. Just gonna get rid of some of these lines here, but close enough to resemble what we're copying, okay? So I think that's okay. I forgot to put his tweedly bombs in, his antennae, and they're just round circles with two stringy things. They're antennae, I'll just call them stringy things for now. Okay, there, okay. And then we're going to continue with his body that goes down and around. And then he's got that little stinger. Oh, I saw that little stinger right there, somewhere there. We might have to change that a little bit later on, but for now we'll put that there. Let's put those lines in, those very distinctive B lines. Like that, something like that. And then there's one on his tail. Okay, that's something like that, something like that. Maybe I rushed it a bit to put those lines in because I haven't done the arm yet. So let's put his arm in. There's no arm if you put his arm in, is there? No arm if you put his hand in as well. And his little fingers. As I said, it's been anthropomorphized. So it's got the features of a human being. We know that bees don't have fingers and arms like this, but it's fun to have them have those human characteristics after all, like I said, so we can relate to it a lot better. put his arms in. Now, again, guys, I know this might be your first time watching it, so I'm going to repeat myself, that I am very quickly doing this particular illustration for us now so that you can see how I get to where I want to go with this picture, okay? I'm going to knock in some of these dark lines on him very quickly. You should take your time and try and get in as many, make sure that your picture is as accurate as possible before you start making your lines, your sketch lines too dark, okay? But I'm just rushing ahead because, well, like I said, I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and it's something that I've done so many times now that I'm kind of used to it. But for those of you who are out there who may be still just trying out your hand, improving your skills, trying to get to that point where you feel that, yeah, I'm good, it might take you a while to kind of do that. So don't rush yourself like I'm rushing, okay? That's one example that I'm doing I don't want you to follow, okay? Going really super fast, okay? Go nice and slow. Okay, you know, I've just realized that my lines are in the wrong way. Yeah, that should be dark there, that should be white there. Not to worry, okay? Okay, try to keep these shaded lines in the same direction, but they're going all over the shop. Okay, yeah, it's important to keep your shaded lines in the same direction. Okay, not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay, and I put his leg in already. Goodness me, I'm going quite quick on this one. I need to slow down, right? And I put his cheeks in. His eyes, now his eyes, he's got these little, tiny little eyebrows up here. But most of all, which I think is really cute, he's got these little eyelashes, which makes me think it might be a lady bee. It might be a lady bee. A lady bee have those eyeliners and things that they put on themselves, isn't it? So that might indicate that this is actually a female bee. So I'm going to put those in nice and bright, dark, so we can see them quite clearly. Okay. Wow, he's got so many concentric circles in his eyes. They are distinguished by the fact that they have colors there, but I'm just going to use the shading for now so that you can see the difference between his iris, his eye, and everything else. Now, the outside of his widow peak, I don't know what else to call it, this black thing around his head, I'm just going to fill that in right now quickly. Leave it. Just go down. Trying to keep my shading in the same direction. Don't just scrabble it in any old way. Okay, just try and keep it nice and neat. Right, let's just get rid of some of these lines on the outside. Okay, because it's confusing things for me a little bit. And some of these lines on here, inside here, like this. Okay, and again, I'm using my tissue. Well, I'm going to use my tissue to rub away some of these rubber flakes. Don't use your hand like that, okay? Try not to do that. Use a bit of tissue and just gently brush it away. Don't try and pull it across the paper. You'll smudge it. And I've got another piece of paper here that I'm using to protect the artwork so my hand doesn't smudge it and my hand doesn't get dirty with the graphite from the pencil. Okay, so I'm just gonna put these lines in a bit darker in his neck. I'm gonna make the inside of his mouth a bit darker. Right. Now, some of the pictures, as I said before, I underestimated how difficult they will be, how they are to draw. So with this one, I think it's fairly easy. There's no tassels like on the camel. There's no bits and pieces like some of the other pictures we drew. So this one's fairly straightforward. Not too much detail, and that's another lesson that we can draw. You know, sometimes if you do want to draw something yourself, you might, before you start drawing it or ripping it out of a book or downloading it, you might want to think about, how am I going to draw this picture? Yeah, it looks really cool, but how am I going to draw it? Where am I going to start? And that might save you a bit of headache before you start trying to figure it out with actually draw it on the paper. Even having said that though, at the same time, I still think it's a good idea for you to try things that are a little bit more difficult for you and might be out of your wheelhouse, so to speak. Okay, but still think about, how am I going to draw this, and how am I going to get this here? Is that going to be hard to draw? And sometimes you don't know it until you start doing it. Okay, so maybe just trying to anticipate how you're going to draw something before you start it might save a little bit of heartache. Okay, you don't want to abandon a picture just as you started it and realizing you got into a spot of trouble because the thing doesn't look like what you want it to look like. Okay, so try and figuring out how it looks before, or how you're going to draw it before you draw it. It might save you a bit of time. But I'm just rubbing up some of the lines that I don't need. which are superfluous to requirements. Let's just rub those bits away. Okay, I'm gonna put that line in there a bit nice and darker now. Okay. Now I remember a while back we did draw another bee when we did the random spinner, and that came out in full color and I was so happy with it. And my wife says, "Oh, I want that picture." I was like, "Yeah, whatever. You ain't getting that right." So I've got it here somewhere. I might whip it out in a minute to see if I can show you guys. It came out so lovely. And it was very similar to this one. It was a nice, happy, jolly looking bee that I was very pleased of how it came out. Anyway, for now, let's just focus on this. If we got time, I'll look at it. If not, we'll just leave it. Right, let's just draw this honey pot. He's holding in his hand. The honey pot, yep, is just a circle. And then we have to figure out what the details are. Obviously, he's got honey falling out of the actual pot itself, dripping out because it's just overflowing with goodness. And it just barely goes on the edge there, goes back up and under again, and then round again, okay? And it's got like a little dip in the middle there. Nice one. Okay, let's just put that in there. And the other edge of the handle goes over there. This part is quite dark. This. I'm going to put a bit of shading on this side. Now, because we've gone quite quickly, I can put a bit of shading on this one. I think I can get away with that. Might have time for that. Okay, shading is something I want to do, but we just don't have time to fit it in because of our time restraints. But we might be able to just get a little bit of shading in here and there because it's pretty much done. I think we just need to do the wings, and that's pretty much it. Look, let's do the wings. Let's just rub out some of these lines on his leg. And then brush those flakes away. Okay, right, let's do those wings. Now these wings are meant to be very thin. Okay, so I'm not gonna make a massive show of it. I'm gonna keep those lines fairly light. Put these veins in. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of shade those veins in. Okay, not as light as I'd wanted, but never mind. Put those veins in for this one. Membranes on his wings, which allow him to fly. I read somewhere that, technically speaking, based on the laws of physics and aerodynamics, flies and bees shouldn't be able to fly. I don't know how true that is, but it'd be interesting to look into it because their bodies are such an awkward shape. They're hardly aerodynamic in their shape, and yet by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are still able to fly. Isn't that amazing? Right, let's just put some of those veins in. Right, so as I said there, that was a pretty quick one. Oh, one leg is missing. I've got his leg over here. That's just behind that cauldron or that pot of honey. So I'll just put that in there as a simple line. Right, so I've got that in there. So let's just do a bit of shading, shall we? Why not? Okay, so I'm gonna pretend that the sun, the light is coming from this direction. So under this side is gonna be a bit darker. So I'm gonna put a bit of shade in. Now it's good to try and get a bit of an edge, a ledge on your pencil, a flat ledge on your pencil, so that you can shade a lot better. Okay. I'm gonna just shade here. And the back of his leg here. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. I feel like I'm rushing it, but I don't want to rush it. I don't want to rush it. Okay, I'm gonna put a darker shade on those stripes to give the impression that it's a bit dark on that side. And here underneath that part, it's going to be quite dark as well. And then fade it in a little bit. I'm going to do the same for his arm. Just going to slightly soften the edge. And his fingers. And that finger. Okay, just going to put a bit of shade on this side of his eyes. And this side of his head. I don't want to shade it totally into this thing because it's meant to be black and it's meant to be distinctive from everything else. We can do a bit of shading on his antennae, biddly bubbly bum things. Like this. And then keep the edges dark. And then make this edge here dark as well. This is where you really need this piece of paper here so that your hands don't smudge the existing bits of artwork. Especially now I'm going really dark on some of it as well. If I was to do it without this paper and I start drawing here, it would smudge all these bits, wouldn't it? It would look quite horrible and all our hard work would look a bit, not so good. Right, I'm going to put a bit of a shadow on his arm. Okay, let's just do his pot. Okay, right, let's have a look at that. Not bad, not bad, not bad. That leg, that's behind there. I need to give it a bit of a shade because it's getting lost. It just looks like a line and it needs to be a little bit in the shadow just to emphasize that it's actually there. Just going to increase the darkness on this side here of this pot. And I'm going to put a slight shade on this foot here. Okay. Now if you want to get some highlights, you can use this to just rub back a little bit here and there. Like if I just do that there, and a bit of a highlight on the top of his head, as if the sun is hitting on it though, or the sun or the light or whatever, he's just hitting that part of his head. And there's not much other places I can do that. If I do his eye here, yes. This reminds me of the time I used to have a rubber, an eraser that is the shape of a pencil. So handy for getting into these nooks and crannies and rubbing out what you want, because this is not really the thing for it. I should really cut this rubber up and make some sharp edges so I can get into those nooks and crannies. If you are going to do that, be very careful. Make sure you have an adult that can supervise you. I don't want you using scissors and rulers and knives and all sorts of stuff to break your rubbers up to make them sharp, okay? Get somebody to supervise that for you, okay? Don't want anybody losing their heads. Right, so let me have a look now. Not bad, not bad. I think that's about it, guys and gals. Just to remind you once again, if you want to join me here in our amazing studios, you could do so. You could either sit with me, we could do some drawing together, or if you want to send your artwork along to our Instagram page, IQRA Kids TV, simply go over there, make sure you follow us and like some of our pictures and bits and pieces, and inbox me 3 or 4 pieces of your artwork. I like it when people send 3 or 4 pieces in so we can get a rounded idea of what they can do, what they like, what kind of topics they like to draw and things of that nature. So send it in, inbox me on our Instagram page, and I promise you I will see it directly as soon as it comes in. Give us your name, your age and all the rest of it and where in the world you may be. We've had people from India sending in their amazing artwork, so what are you waiting for? Send in artwork, even if you think it's not all that, send it in, we'd love to see it, inshallah, and we'll feature it here on the show. Right guys, I've got to go. You take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, is it over already? Oh, that was rather quick, wasn't it? We have been enjoying ourselves putting together these shows, and I hope you're enjoying them. Remember to hit that QR code and go over to our Instagram page right away. Okay, that question, what does IQRA actually mean? Which, as you know, is my name, Professor IQRA. To prove it, see? Professor IQRA, see, lab pass. I can go anywhere, absolutely anywhere. Right, IQRA means to read, to recite MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. I'm glad you all knew that. Right. So once again, apologies for Brother Khaleel not being here today. I had to stand before him. Who knows where he is? He's been doing his ABCs of Islam. Maybe he's gone to a different country again. Oh, I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out soon. Anyway, my friends, thank you so much for putting up with me, and I look forward to seeing you really soon. Take care of yourselves. Toodle pip. Salam alaikum. Reason number 7, it was a massive up. Right? Different things you do.
IQRA Kids TV.